Well, we spend a whopping $20 billion a year on health insurance. Now, on average, our premiums went up by around $300 this year. But a lot of us aren't happy with our providers, with complaints to the Ombudsman rising by 30%. About the same as much as our premiums rose by. So how do you get a better deal? Joel Gibson from One Big Switch is here. Joel, good morning to you. Why are we losing out?
Well, Carl, health insurance is soaring upwards by about almost $300 every year on average. It's gone up by 75% over the past decade, and that's just blowing a hole in people's budgets. So, you know, people are doing what you'd expect. They're downgrading their cover, they're switching to save money. And unfortunately, in some cases, they're trading away cover that they need.
And a lot of people aren't going into cover to have that private cover as well, right? So, you've got to realise that anything can happen, anything can go wrong, and it will go wrong. And if you don't have cover, it's going to be, you know, you're in a different predicament.
That's right. A lot of people say they can't even afford it in the first place. Only half of Australians have a policy, and a lot of people are dumping it altogether.
And
so
when
it's
you're
a real
young, you think nothing's going to go wrong, and then something does, right? So let's talk through some of the jargon. Can you explain some of these key terms? We'll start with public hospital only cover.
Sure. Now, this is the big one at the moment. This is the reason for the spike in complaints. A lot of people are trading down to public hospital only cover. That doesn't allow you to jump the queue in a public hospital, despite what a lot of people think. They're being given bad advice. That's unfortunate. But if you can watch out for a few of these red flag phrases, then hopefully you won't trade away the cover you need when you do downgrade.
OK, what about waiting period?
Waiting periods. Now, this is very important. You can't claim on certain treatments for a certain period of time. They're set by the government. The biggest one is 12 months. But just make sure if there's a particular thing you think you're going to need, that when you do take up a policy, you look at the waiting period for that particular treatment.
It's hard to know, though, isn't it? I mean, if you want an overall cover, you've got to try and have as many avenues covered as possible, right?
It's like any insurance decision. You decide how much you're prepared to risk and how much you can afford, and then there's a balancing act that has to happen.
And finally, benefit limitation period.
Now, this is making a comeback. This was popular in the early 2000s, and it comes after the waiting period, so possibly after a 12-month waiting period. You might have another 12 months or 24 months where you only get a restricted benefit on certain treatments. Again, it's a great way to cut the cost of your cover if you're prepared to trade that away. Make sure you know what you're signing up for.
OK, so what's the best way of going about trying to work out what's best for you and your family?
Look, what we say to people, Carl, is if you've got a problem with your roof, you don't go out and get 32 quotes from tradies, right? You get one from someone you've used, you get a recommendation, maybe you get one from the phone book. You've got 3 quotes, you're well on the way to making a good decision. We say the same thing with health insurance. Don't be befuddled by the jargon and the scores of different products out there. Just make sure you go through the process and have a go. And the biggest mistake you can make is not shopping around at all.
Can you actually negotiate with various health insurance companies?
You can't generally negotiate on the price of an off-the-shelf product. What you can do in our campaigns, we use the group buying power of our members to negotiate. What you can almost always do with your insurer is you can call them up and say, look, this is really damaging my budget, this bill. It's going up by $300 a year. How can I save some money so I can stay in the system and not get out of it altogether?
Really good information. Thank you. And more information on how to get the best out of your health insurance, you head to our website. Appreciate your time today.